Let's get more now on the drama over China's live fire drills. Joining me is Michael Shoebridge from Strategic Analysis Australia. Michael, thank you so much for joining me. Look, I really want to try and ascertain where these communication failures came from or what actually went wrong, because even up until yesterday, Labor said it was not clear if the Chinese flotilla conducted live fire drills. Would the government seriously not at all be aware of live fire drills being carried out near Australian waters? I mean, does that stack up to you that the country right next to where this occurred, which had its own planes diverted, would have no clue?
Well, if it was a country like Japan or South Korea who've been coping with this from China most days of the week, I'd say they absolutely would know that. But we've heard from Deputy Prime Minister Miles and the Prime Minister and Pat Conroy even today that our Defence Force has been doing an unprecedented job monitoring these 3 Chinese warships. But the head of our military has told us repeatedly that he still doesn't know if the warships fired their naval guns or launched missiles during the fire drills. And we know it was a Virgin pilot, not the military, that found out the drills were even happening. So this is a failure in our Defence Force. But the other thing that really concerns me out of today is the Prime Minister is trying to reassure the Australian public that, of course, the Chinese wouldn't be thinking that in the future they might launch land attack missiles from these ships. They have those missiles. How can the Prime Minister reassure us about anything the Chinese ships might do in the future when he has no idea what they've done so far?
Absolutely spot on. And also the Prime Minister today was out there saying, well, China didn't give us advance warning. Last Friday, exactly a week ago, he said that China did indeed get advance warning. So you've got no idea what he's on about. But Michael, is it entirely possible that the Prime Minister was not briefed on this? I'm trying to ascertain why Anthony Albanese's version of events seems to contradict that of the Defence Force.
Actually, today, Mr Albanese went back to his original talking points about how the Chinese didn't give us sufficient notice. Well, the Chief of the Defence Force and Air Services Australia have made it clear that there was no advance notice. We only found out once the drills had begun. So I think the problem is not only is the Prime Minister not on top of his current briefing, he doesn't even know that the points he's using were wrong at the time and have become obviously patently wrong now. It's like he's got last week's raw fish and he hasn't noticed the smell.
Well, today he said that Australia made it clear that China did not give the information in a timely manner. So again,
well,
I'm just so confused at why he keeps changing his tune. I don't think he's across his briefing, full stop. But again, why is it important that we get this timeline right?
Well, it's so important because whether Chinese warships are doing live fire drills that can include firing surface-to-air missiles above where airlines operate is safety-critical information for air passengers and for the airlines that fly over those drills. That's why 49 flights had to divert when the first drills happened. And the Prime Minister not understanding that's a problem and it's safety critical and not keeping up with his briefing of events just in the last few days is just unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got to ask you, what does it say about our own surveillance? Because this was picked up by a Virgin Australia passenger jet. God help us if war breaks out.
Well, here's another moment of surreal stuff. Richard Miles has been saying it's unfair to say our Defence Force haven't done well here because this wasn't a real incident. Well, for the airlines that had to urgently divert and for every passenger on those planes, this was very real, potentially deadly and dangerous. And it's that the Prime Minister and the Defence Minister don't grasp that and that our military still can't tell us whether missiles or naval guns were fired or not is beyond disturbing.
Yeah, it's a real worry that this is happening very close to Australian waters and nobody seems to know what's going on. Michael Shoebridge, nice to have you on. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening.